Rescue. The deafening roar of the dropship's engines filled Captain Sarah Chen's ears as it plummeted through the atmosphere of Novus Prime. The harsh red glow of re-entry faded, giving way to swirling storm clouds that buffeted the craft. Sarah gripped the overhead bar tightly, her knuckles white beneath her combat gloves. 30 seconds to touchdown, the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. Sarah turned to face her team, 6 of Earth's finest soldiers, each hand-picked for this mission. Their faces were grim behind their helmet visors, weapons held at the ready. "Remember," Sarah shouted over the din, "this is a rescue op. We're here to evacuate the research outpost, nothing more. Intel suggests minimal resistance, but stay alert. We don't know what drove the scientists to send that distress call." The dropship shuddered as it touched down on the planet's surface. With a hiss of hydraulics, the rear hatch opened, revealing a landscape of twisted purple vegetation under an alien sky. Sarah was the first out, her boots crunching on the rocky soil as she scanned for threats. "Move out," she ordered, and her team fanned out behind her. The research outpost loomed ahead, a cluster of prefab structures surrounded by a perimeter fence. As they approached, Sarah's unease grew. The fence was torn open in several places, and eerie silence blanketed the compound. "Life signs?" she asked over the comm. "Negative, Captain," replied Corporal Zhang, studying his scanner. "Wait, I'm picking up something faint. Single biosignature, structure C." Sarah nodded, motioning for the team to advance. They moved through the compound with practiced efficiency, checking each building. Signs of struggle were everywhere: overturned furniture, shattered equipment, and dark stains that Sarah refused to examine too closely. At Structure C, Sarah paused outside the door, her team in position. With a nod, Sergeant Okafor breached the entrance. They swept in, weapons raised. "Clear," came the call from each room, until, "Captain, you need to see this." Okafor's voice was tight with tension. Sarah entered what appeared to be a lab and froze. Amidst the debris and destruction stood a cylindrical tank filled with swirling blue fluid, and within it floated a being unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. Its body was vaguely humanoid, but covered in iridescent scales that shimmered even in the dim emergency lighting. Multiple tendrils sprouted from its head, writhing slowly in the liquid. But what struck Sarah most were its eyes, large, luminous, and unmistakably intelligent as they fixed upon her. A voice suddenly resonated in Sarah's mind, bypassing her ears entirely. "Help, please." Sarah stumbled back, her rifle clattering to the floor. Did anyone else hear that?" she gasped. Her team exchanged confused glances. "Hear what, Captain?" Zhang asked. Sarah approached the tank cautiously. The being's eyes followed her, and again the voice echoed in her thoughts. "Danger comes. Must escape. Help us." "Us?" Sarah wondered, then noticed the being's abdomen. It was distended, pulsing gently. With a jolt of realization, Sarah understood. The alien was pregnant. "We need to get it out of there," Sarah declared, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her mind. "Captain?" Okafor questioned. "Our orders." "Our orders were to rescue survivors," Sarah cut him off. "This is a survivor. Prep for immediate evac." As her team scrambled to action, Sarah placed a hand on the cool surface of the tank. The alien's tendrils reached out, pressing against the glass from the other side. "What happened here?" Sarah asked silently, unsure if the creature could hear her thoughts as well. Images flashed through Sarah's mind. Terrifying visions of other aliens, insectoid and violent, swarming the outpost. She saw the human scientists fighting desperately, buying time for this being to hide. She felt the alien's fear, its sorrow at the loss of life, and its hope upon sensing Sarah's arrival. "We're getting you out of here," Sarah promised, pushing aside her shock at this impossible mental connection. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the compound. Zhang's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, we've got incoming." Multiple hostile signatures approaching fast. Sarah's mind raced. They couldn't fight off an attack and safely transport the alien at the same time. She made a split-second decision. "New plan," she barked. "Okafor, Zhang, get this tank onto the dropship. Everyone else, defensive positions. We hold them off until evac is secure." The next few minutes were chaos. Sarah coordinated her team's defense as the insectoid aliens swarmed the perimeter. Pulsed rifles flashed, cutting down the attackers, but they kept coming in endless waves. Tank secured. Okafor's voice came through the comm. "Ready for dust-off." "Fall back," Sarah ordered. "Covering fire. Go, go, go." They retreated to the dropship, Sarah bringing up the rear. As she turned to make a final stand at the foot of the ramp, she locked eyes with the alien in the tank. In that moment, a feeling of profound connection washed over her. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was the beginning of something far greater. The dropship's engines roared to life as Sarah finally backed up the ramp, still firing. The hatch sealed shut, and G forces pressed her to the deck as they rocketed into the sky. In the relative quiet of the hold, Sarah caught her breath and surveyed her team. They were battered but alive. Her gaze fell on the alien tank, now securely fastened. "What the hell do we do now, Captain?" Okafor asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Sarah stood, approaching the tank once more. The alien's eyes met hers, filled with gratitude and something else, a silent plea. "Now," Sarah said, her voice firm with newfound purpose, "we protect them, both of them, no matter what comes next." As the dropship broke atmosphere, leaving the chaos of Novus Prime behind, Sarah knew their mission had only just begun. Humanity's first contact had been violent, tragic, but in this alien and its unborn child, she saw hope for a different future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Sarah vowed to face them head-on. The universe had just gotten a lot bigger and a lot more complicated, but Sarah Chen was ready. Escape and bonding. The dropship shuddered as it entered hyperspace, leaving the turmoil of Novus Prime far behind. Captain Sarah Chen exhaled slowly, allowing herself a moment of relief before facing the challenges ahead. Her team sat in tense silence, their eyes continually drawn to the alien tank secured in the center of the hold. Sarah approached the tank, placing her hand against its cool surface. The alien's luminous eyes met hers, and once again, that strange mental connection sparked to life. "Thank you," the alien's thoughts resonated in Sarah's mind. "You've saved not just me, but hope for both our peoples." Sarah nodded, still marveling at this impossible communication. "Can you tell me who you are? What happened back there?" A series of images and emotions flooded Sarah's consciousness. She saw a peaceful race of beings, advanced in science and philosophy. She felt their joy at first contact with humans, the exchange of knowledge and culture. Then came flashes of the insectoid attackers, the hive, as the alien called them, a ravenous, expansionist force consuming world after world. "I am Zarya," the alien conveyed. "My people are the Luminarians. We sought alliance with humans against the hive, but they found us first." Sarah processed this information, her tactical mind already considering the implications. She was about to ask more when alarms blared throughout the ship. "Captain," the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. They're following us." Sarah cursed under her breath. "How long until we reach Earth space?" "At least 6 hours, ma'am. We can't outrun them that long." Sarah's mind raced. They were alone out here, no backup to call upon. Her gaze fell on Zarya, and an idea formed. "Zarya," she thought intensely, hoping the alien would understand. "Your people, do they have any outposts nearby? Somewhere we could seek refuge?" Zarya's tendrils writhed in agitation. "Yes, but revealing its location would risk my entire species." "And if the hive catches us, they'll learn it anyway," Sarah countered. "We need your trust." There was a moment of hesitation, Then a flood of coordinates and navigational data filled Sarah's mind. She rushed to the cockpit, relaying the information to the pilot. "It's risky," the pilot warned, "but it's our best shot." Sarah nodded grimly. "Do it." The ship lurched as it changed course, plunging deeper into uncharted space. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the occasional proximity alarm as their pursuers drew near, then fell behind as the pilot executed evasive maneuvers. Sarah spent the time by the alien tank, her mind linked with Zarya's. She learned of the Luminarians' history, their hopes for the future, and the terrible threat the Hive posed to all sentient life. In turn, Sarah shared humanity's story, its triumphs and failures, its resilience and determination. "Your kind is young," Zarya observed, "but there is great potential in you." Sarah smiled wryly. "Let's hope it's enough to get us through this." Suddenly, the ship dropped out of hyperspace. Through the view screen, a massive space station shimmered into view, its crystalline structures refracting starlight in dazzling patterns. "By all that's holy," Sergeant Okafor breathed, voicing the awe they all felt. But their wonder was short-lived. Alarms blared once more as Hive ships materialized behind them, weapons charging. "Luminarian vessel," Sarah broadcast on all frequencies, praying someone was listening. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth. We have refugees aboard and request immediate asylum." Tense seconds ticked by. The Hive ships drew closer, their insectoid forms bristling with weaponry. Sarah's hand hovered over the weapon controls, knowing their chances in a firefight were slim to none. Just as hope began to fade, a shimmering energy field enveloped their ship. The pursuing Hive vessels slammed into the barrier, exploding in silent bursts of light. A new voice, melodious and calm, filled the comm channels. "Earth vessel, you are cleared for docking. Welcome to Haven." Relief washed over the crew as their ship was gently guided into a crystalline docking bay. As the airlock cycled, Sarah turned to her team. "Remember, we're guests here. Best behavior, everyone." The inner doors slid open, revealing a delegation of Luminarians. They were similar to Zarya in basic form, but each unique in coloration and the arrangement of their head tendrils. At their lead stood a being whose very presence radiated authority. "I am Elder Voxon." The Luminarian's thoughts touched Sarah's mind. "You have done us a great service by rescuing Zarya, but I sense there is much more to your story." Sarah nodded, gesturing to the tank containing Zarya. "There's no time to waste. Zarya needs medical attention, and we need to prepare. The Hive knows about this place now. They'll be back, and in greater numbers." Voxon's tendrils rippled in what Sarah interpreted as agreement. "Come, we have much to discuss." As they moved deeper into the station, Sarah marveled at the advanced technology surrounding them. Luminarians worked seamlessly alongside machines, their thoughts guiding complex systems beyond human understanding. Yet despite their clear superiority, Sarah sensed a deep wariness in these beings. The war with the Hive had taken its toll. They reached a medical bay where Zarya was carefully transferred from the tank. Sarah watched anxiously as Luminarian doctors swarmed around their patient, communicating in silent bursts of thought. "Your concern is admirable," Voxon observed, "especially for one so recently acquainted with our kind." Sarah met the elder's gaze. "Zarya risked everything to help us, and if what I've learned is true, the fate of both our peoples might rest on her and her child." Voxon's tendrils waved in a gesture Sarah was beginning to recognize as surprise. "You are perceptive, Captain Chen. Indeed, Zarya's child may be key to turning the tide against the Hive, but such discussions can wait. For now, rest. You and your team have earned it." As her adrenaline faded, Sarah realized just how exhausted she was. She wanted to protest, to start planning immediately, but Voxon's gentle mental suggestion of sleep was too powerful to resist. "Very well," Sarah conceded, "but as soon as Zarya is stable, we need to talk strategy. The Hive won't stay away for long." Voxan agreed, and Sarah allowed herself to be led to guest quarters. As she drifted off to sleep, her mind swirled with images of the day's events. First contact, a harrowing escape, and now the weight of two civilizations resting on her shoulders. Whatever came next, Sarah knew that humanity's place in the universe had forever changed, and she was at the center of it all. Refuge and revelations. Sarah awoke with a start, momentarily disoriented by the soft, pulsating light that filled her quarters. As the fog of sleep cleared, the events of the past day came rushing back. She was on Haven, the hidden Luminarian outpost, with her team and a pregnant alien who might hold the key to saving two civilizations. A gentle chime echoed through the room, followed by Elder Voxan's telepathic voice. "Captain Chen, if you're ready, Zalia is awake and stable. There is much to discuss." Sarah quickly donned her uniform and made her way through the crystalline corridors of Haven. The station hummed with activity, luminarians and their advanced machines working in perfect harmony. Yet, beneath the efficiency, Sarah sensed an undercurrent of urgency and fear. She entered the medical bay to find Zalia resting in a bed of softly glowing energy. The alien's eyes brightened upon seeing Sarah, and a wave of gratitude washed over her mind. "How are you feeling?" Sarah asked, both aloud and in thought. "Better, thanks to you and the skilled healers here," Zalia replied. "But time grows short. The child comes soon, and with it both great hope and great danger." Elder Voxan glided into the room, accompanied by Sarah's team and several other Luminarian officials. Indeed, the elder intoned gravely, "Captain Chen, it's time you understood the full scope of our situation." Over the next hour, Sarah and her team listened in growing astonishment as the Luminarians revealed the true nature of their conflict with the Hive. It wasn't merely a war for territory or resources, but a battle for the very nature of consciousness in the galaxy. The Hive, they learned, was not just a violent, expansionist force. It was a hive mind of staggering power, assimilating entire species into its collective consciousness. Those it couldn't assimilate, it destroyed. The Luminarians, with their highly advanced telepathic abilities, had been fighting a losing battle to maintain their individuality against the Hive's psychic assaults. But Zalia's child, Voxan explained, represents a new hope. Through a combination of genetic engineering and what you might call evolutionary luck, the infant may possess mental abilities strong enough to rival the Hive's collective power. Sarah frowned, the implications sinking in. "You're saying this child could be a weapon against the Hive?" Zalia's thoughts brushed Sarah's mind, tinged with both pride and fear. Not a weapon, exactly. A shield. A way to protect our minds, and possibly even free those trapped within the Hive's control. Which is precisely why the Hive hunts us so relentlessly, Voxan added. If they assimilate the child, its power would make the Hive unstoppable. The weight of this revelation settled heavily on Sarah and her team. Sergeant Okafor was the first to break the stunned silence. "With all due respect," he said, "how does humanity fit into this? We're newcomers to interstellar travel. Our technology is centuries behind yours. What can we possibly offer in this fight?" A ripple of amusement passed through the Luminarians. Voxan's tendrils waved in what Sarah was beginning to recognize as a smile. "Ah, but that is precisely why you are so valuable," the elder explained. "Your minds are different. Unrefined, perhaps, but also unpredictable. The Hive struggles to anticipate and counter human thought patterns. In you, we see a potential ally unlike any we've encountered before." Sarah nodded slowly, pieces falling into place. "That's why you were on Novus Prime. You were studying us, trying to understand how our minds work." "Yes," Zalia confirmed. "And in you, Captain Chen, we found something extraordinary. Your ability to communicate telepathically with us, untrained and unprompted, is unprecedented for your species. You may be key to bridging our two races in the coming battle." As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the station. A young Luminarian burst into the room, thoughts broadcasting panic. Elder Voxan, our long-range sensors have detected a massive hive fleet entering the system. They'll be upon us within hours. The room erupted into a flurry of activity. Voxan began issuing orders, coordinating Haven's defenses. Sarah turned to her team, seeing determination replace shock on their faces. "All right, people, you heard them. We're in this fight now, whether we're ready or not. Okafor, work with Haven's security teams. Zhang, I want you analyzing their sensor data, see if you can spot any weaknesses in the hive's approach. The rest of you, assist where you can and prepare for possible evacuation." As her team dispersed, Sarah felt a gentle touch on her arm. She turned to see Zarya, the alien's eyes filled with a mix of fear and resolve. "Captain, Sarah," Zarya's thoughts whispered in her mind. "I fear the child will come soon, in the midst of this chaos. I am afraid." Sarah took Zarya's hand, marveling at the alien yet familiar texture of its skin. "I'm here," she promised. "Whatever happens, we face it together." A tremor ran through the station as distant explosions signaled the beginning of the battle. Sarah looked out the viewport, watching as streaks of energy crisscrossed the starfield. Haven's defenses were formidable, but the sheer number of hive ships was overwhelming. In that moment, as two civilizations fought desperately for survival, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle firmly on her shoulders. She was no longer just a soldier, but a bridge between worlds, a guardian of a hope not yet born. As if sensing her thoughts, Zarya's mind touched hers once more. "You are more than you know, Sarah Chen. In you, I see the strength of humanity, the potential to change the course of this war." Sarah squared her shoulders, her resolve hardening. "Then let's show the hive what humanity can do." With a final reassuring squeeze of Zarya's hand, Sarah strode out of the medical bay, ready to face whatever challenges the coming hours would bring. The fate of two species, perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance, and Sarah was determined to tip those scales, no matter the cost. Pursuit and preparation, the battle for Haven raged across the star system. Luminarian ships, elegant and swift, danced between the lumbering hive vessels. But for every hive ship destroyed, 3 more seemed to take its place. Sarah Chen stood in Haven's command center, her mind linked with the station's systems through a neural interface the Luminarians had hastily adapted for human use. "Another wave incoming, Sector 7. Sarah called out, her human vocal cords a backup to the thoughts she broadcast. She marveled at how quickly she'd adapted to this new form of communication, as if a dormant part of her brain had suddenly awakened. Elder Voxan's tendrils writhed in concern as he processed the tactical data. "Our outer defenses are failing. We cannot hold them off indefinitely." Sarah's mind raced, years of tactical training colliding with the vast streams of data flowing through the neural link. An idea began to form. "What if we don't have to?" she thought, the plan crystallizing. "Voxan, you said the hive struggles with human unpredictability. What if we use that against them?" The elder's curiosity piqued. "What do you propose, Captain?" Sarah quickly outlined her plan. It was risky, borderline insane by conventional standards. But in this battle of minds as much as ships, conventional thinking wouldn't cut it. "It's audacious," Voxan mused, a ripple of excitement passing through his tendrils. "But it just might work. Prepare your team, Captain. We'll handle the rest." As Sarah disconnected from the neural interface, a sharp cry echoed through her mind. "Zarya, the baby." "Go," Voxan urged. "Your presence may be crucial. We'll continue preparations here." Sarah raced through Haven's corridors, the station shuddering under the hive's relentless assault. She burst into the medical bay to find Zarya surrounded by a team of Luminarian doctors, their thoughts a whirlwind of concentration and concern. "Sarah," Zarya's mind reached out, laced with pain and fear. "The child comes, but something is wrong. The hive, they're trying to reach the baby's mind." Sarah rushed to Zarya's side, taking the alien's hand. She could feel it now, a malevolent presence pushing at the edges of her consciousness, trying to break through. "Focus on my voice," Sarah said aloud, projecting calm thoughts to counter the chaos. "You're stronger than they are. We're stronger together." As Zalia's labor intensified, Sarah found herself in a mental battle unlike anything she'd experienced. The hive's psychic assault battered against her mind, seeking any weakness. But where the Luminarians' highly evolved telepathy made them vulnerable, Sarah's untrained human mind was a fortress of chaotic, unpredictable thought. Hours blurred together, the physical and mental struggle intertwining. Sarah lost track of the battle raging outside, her entire world narrowing to this room, to Zalia, to the child fighting to be born free of the hive's influence. With a final triumphant cry from Zalia, the baby arrived. The Luminarian doctors worked swiftly, their movements a blur. And then, impossibly, a new mind touched Sarah's, tiny, curious, and blazing with potential. "It's a girl," one of the doctors announced unnecessarily. The infant's thoughts, while unfocused, broadcast her presence more clearly than any words could. Sarah looked down at the child in wonder. She was unmistakably alien, with iridescent scales and delicate tendrils. But her eyes, large and full of intelligence, locked onto Sarah's with an intensity that felt profoundly human. A series of explosions rocked the station, shattering the moment of peace. Sarah's calm crackled to life. "Captain," it was Zhang, her voice tight with urgency. "The hive's broken through. They're boarding the station." Sarah's military training kicked in, pushing aside her awe and exhaustion. "Zalia, can you move?" The alien nodded weakly, cradling her newborn. "If I must, then we must," Sarah said grimly. "This station is about to become a war zone. We need to get you and the baby to safety." As if to emphasize her point, the sounds of battle drew closer, the high-pitched whine of energy weapons and the chittering roar of hive warriors. Sarah helped Zalia to her feet, supporting both mother and child. "Stay close to me," she ordered, drawing her sidearm. "We're enacting the plan now." They moved through Haven's corridors, now bathed in the red glow of emergency lighting. Sarah's team converged on their position, forming a protective ring around Zalia and the baby. "Engineering decks secure," Okafor reported as they ran. "But not for long. Those bug bastards are persistent." They reached a sealed door, guarded by a squad of Luminarian soldiers. Elder Voxan stood waiting, his usual calm demeanor strained by the chaos around them. "The ship is ready," he said as the door slid open. "But you must hurry. We cannot hold them off much longer." Beyond the door lay a hangar, and within it, a ship unlike any Sarah had seen before. It was clearly of Luminarian design, but there was something different about it, as if it had been modified, merged with technology both human and alien. "This vessel," Voxan explained quickly, "combines the best of our sciences. It is our fastest ship, enhanced with prototype systems based on human neural patterns. With it, you may yet escape the hive." Sarah's eye widened as she realized the implications. "You're not coming with us." Voxan's tendrils waved sadly. "My place is here, with my people. We will hold off the hive as long as we can, give you time to escape. The future of both our races now rests with you, Captain Chen, with Zalia, the child, and the unique bond you share." The weight of this responsibility settled heavily on Sarah's shoulders, but as she looked at her team, at Zalia and the miraculous child in her arms, she felt a surge of determination. "We won't let you down," Sarah promised. As they boarded the ship, alarms blared throughout the hangar. The hive had broken through. "Go," Voxan's mental voice boomed, "and may the stars guide you to victory." The hangar doors opened to the chaos of space beyond. Sarah took the pilot's seat, her mind linking seamlessly with the ship's systems. As Haven's last defenses crumbled behind them, they shot into the vastness of space, carrying with them the hopes of two civilizations and the key to the galaxy's future. The real journey, Sarah knew, was only just beginning. Battle and sacrifice. The hybrid ship streaked through space, its systems humming with a blend of Luminarian technology and human intuition. Sarah's mind was merged with the ship's controls, guiding it through a series of impossible maneuvers as a swarm of hive vessels gave chase. "How are we looking, Zhang?" Sarah called out, her voice strained with concentration. Corporal Zhang, hunched over a console of swirling light, shook her head. "Not good, Captain. I count at least 30 hive ships in pursuit. They're gaining on us." In the ship's small medical bay, Zarya cradled her newborn daughter, her thoughts a mix of fear and fierce protectiveness that Sarah could feel even through her focus on piloting. "We can't outrun them forever," Sergeant Okafor growled, his hands hovering over the weapon systems. "Sooner or later, we'll have to stand and fight." Sarah's mind raced, processing tactical data faster than she ever thought possible. The neural link with the ship was like nothing she'd experienced before. It was as if the vessel was an extension of her own body. An idea struck her. Crazy, reckless, but just maybe crazy enough to work. "Everyone, strap in," Sarah ordered. "We're going to pull a little trick I like to call threading the needle." Before anyone could question her, Sarah banked the ship hard, aiming for a dense asteroid field ahead. The hive ships, momentarily caught off guard by the sudden change in direction, scrambled to adjust their course. "Captain," Zhang's voice was tight with alarm, "those asteroids are too densely packed. We'll never make it through." "Watch me," Sarah grinned, her hands dancing over the controls as her mind melded even deeper with the ship's systems. They plunged into the asteroid field, massive rocks hurtling past them at terrifying speeds. Sarah weaved through the chaos with inhuman precision, the ship responding to her thoughts faster than any manual control could allow. Behind them, the first wave of hive ships weren't so lucky. Too large and cumbersome to navigate the field effectively, they smashed into the asteroids or collided with each other in their desperation to keep up. But it wasn't enough. A handful of smaller hive vessels managed to stay on their tail, their insectoid forms darting between the rocks with unsettling agility. "Okafor," Sarah called out, "I'm going to give you a shot. Make it count." With a thought, Sarah cut the ship's main engines. For a heart-stopping moment, they drifted, using only maneuvering thrusters to avoid the asteroids. The pursuing hive ships, caught by surprise, overshot their position. "Now!" Okafor didn't hesitate. A burst of energy lanced out from their ship, catching two of the hive vessels squarely. They erupted in silent explosions, their debris adding to the asteroid field's deadly mix. Sarah fired up the engines again, rocketing away from the remaining pursuers. For a moment, it seemed they might actually escape. Then a massive shape loomed before them, emerging from behind a particularly large asteroid. A hive mothership, dwarfing their vessel and blocking their path. "Oh, shit," Okafor muttered, voicing what they were all thinking. Sarah's mind whirled, searching for options. But before she could act, a familiar presence touched her thoughts. "Sarah," Zarya's mental voice was calm, resolved. "I know what we must do." Understanding flowed between them. Sarah saw Zarya's plan, felt the risk and the potential reward. It was dangerous, perhaps suicidal, but it was also their only chance. "Are you sure?" Sarah asked, both aloud and in thought. Zarya's response was tinged with sadness, but firm with conviction. "It is the only way. My daughter, she is the key. But she needs more time to grow, to reach her full potential. We must buy that time, whatever the cost." Sarah nodded grimly. "All right, everyone. New plan. Okafor, I need you to overload the weapons systems. Zhang, reroute all power to the shields and engines. We're going to ram that mothership." Her team's shock was palpable, but to their credit, they moved to obey without question. "Zarya," Sarah continued, "you and the baby need to get to the escape pod. The rest of us will hold off the hive long enough for you to get clear." Protest flared in Zarya's mind, but Sarah silenced it with a firm thought. Your daughter is the future. She needs you. We'll make sure you both survive to fight another day. Tears shimmered in Zarya's alien eyes as she clutched her child close. I will never forget this sacrifice, Sarah Chen. My daughter will know of your bravery, of humanity's strength. As Zarya made her way to the escape pod, Sarah turned to her team. It's been an honor serving with you all. Let's show these bugs what humans are made of. The ship surged forward, engines straining as they accelerated toward the Hive mothership. Smaller vessels swarmed around them, but Okafor's precise shots kept them at bay. Escape pod away, Zhang reported, her voice tight with emotion. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Whatever happened next, Zarya and her child had a chance. The mothership loomed larger in their view screen, its surface bristling with weapons that began to fire upon them. Their shields flared under the assault, but held. Impact in 10 seconds, Sarah announced, her mind and body one with the ship as they hurtled toward their target. In those final moments, as klaxons blared and the ship shuddered around them, Sarah felt a strange sense of peace. They had come so far, faced impossible odds, and now, with this final act, they would ensure that the fight continued. For Earth, Sarah whispered. For all of us, her team responded in unison. The hybrid ship slammed into the Hive mothership with earth-shattering force. For a split second, nothing happened. Then, as the overloaded weapons systems detonated, a blinding explosion tore through both vessels. The last thing Sarah saw before darkness took her was a tiny pod, streaking away to safety, carrying with it the hopes of 2 civilizations and the future of the galaxy. In the vastness of space, a new legend was born. The tale of Sarah Chen and her team, the humans who stood against the Hive and gave everything so that hope might survive. But their story and the greater war it was part of was far from over. Legacy and new beginnings. 20 years had passed since the Battle of Haven. On a remote planet, lush with purple vegetation and orbiting a binary star system, a young woman stood atop a hill, her iridescent scales shimmering in the alien sunlight. Lyra, daughter of Zarya, gazed up at the sky, her large, luminous eyes searching for something beyond the clouds. They're coming, she said, her voice a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Beside her, Zarya nodded, her once vibrant scales now dulled with age. Yes, I feel them too. The moment we've been preparing for has finally arrived. As if on cue, a series of bright flashes lit up the sky. Ships of various designs, some sleek and crystalline, others bulky and utilitarian, burst into existence as they exited hyperspace. The combined fleet of luminarians and humans had arrived. Lyra's tendrils quivered with anticipation. All her life, she had trained for this moment, honing the unique abilities she'd inherited. She was a bridge between 2 species, a living symbol of the alliance forged in fire and sacrifice 2 decades ago. As the ships began their descent, Lyra felt a familiar presence touch her mind. Admiral Julia Chen, daughter of the legendary Sarah Chen, reached out with a warmth that belied her military rank. Lyra, Zarya, Julia's thoughts resonated clearly. It's good to see you both. I hope you're ready, because the real work begins now. Minutes later, Julia stood before them, flanked by a mix of human and luminarian officers. Though she'd never met Sarah Chen, Lyra couldn't help but see the resemblance, the same determined set of the jaw, the same fire in her eyes. The Hive has grown stronger, Julia said without preamble. They've assimilated 3 more systems since our last encounter, but thanks to the research we've done here, we finally have a chance to turn the tide. Zarya stepped forward, her movements slow but deliberate. Indeed, Lyra's abilities have developed beyond our wildest hopes. She can not only shield minds from a Hive's influence, but potentially free those already under their control. All eyes turned to Lyra, who stood tall under their gaze. I'm ready, she said, her voice steady. I won't let my mother's sacrifice, or the sacrifice of Captain Chen and her team be in vain? Julia nodded, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. Sarah would be proud. Of all of us. She turned, gesturing to a holographic display that sprang to life. Now, let's go over the battle plan. As the group huddled around the tactical display, Lara's mind drifted to the stories she'd grown up hearing. Tales of brave humans and luminarians fighting side by side, of the incredible escape from Haven, and most of all of Sarah Chen, the woman who had given everything to ensure Lyra would have a chance to live and grow. The plan was audacious, relying on a combination of luminarian technology, human unpredictability, and Lyra's unique abilities. They would strike at the heart of Hive-controlled space, targeting the central node that coordinated the vast Hivemund. Hours later, as Lyra boarded the command ship alongside Julia, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders, but she also felt hope, a fierce, burning hope that had been kindled by the actions of those who came before her. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, hurtling towards a confrontation that would determine the fate of the galaxy. As the swirling vortex of faster-than-light travel engulfed them, Lyra closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. She felt the thoughts of every being on the ship, human and luminarian alike, their fears, their determination, their hope. And beyond them, faint but growing stronger, she sensed the vast, alien consciousness of the Hive. Lyra took a deep breath, centering herself as her mother had taught her. When she opened her eyes, they blazed with purpose. "For Sarah," she whispered, "for all those who fought and fell, we will finish what you started." Julia placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder, a gesture that bridged species and generations. "Together," she said firmly. As the fleet dropped out of hyperspace into the chaos of battle, Lyra stood ready. The Hive's psychic assault battered against her defenses, but she stood firm. With a thought, she extended her protection to the Allied ships, shielding them from the worst of the Hivemind's influence. Streams of data flowed through her consciousness, tactical updates, ship movements, the ebb and flow of the battle. Lyra processed it all, directing her powers with precision honed by years of training. Slowly, painfully, they fought their way towards the central Hive node. Losses mounted on both sides, the void of space lit by the silent explosions of fallen ships. But they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that this might be their only chance to end the war. Finally, they broke through. The Hive node loomed before them, a massive, pulsating structure that radiated malevolent power. This was the moment everything had led to. Lyra reached out with her mind, pushing past the node's formidable defenses. She felt Julia and Zalia backing her, lending their strength. And beyond them, she sensed something more, the echoes of those who had come before. Sarah Chen's indomitable spirit, the courage of her team, the wisdom of Elder Voxan. With a final, monumental effort, Lyra breached the core of the Hive's consciousness. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, she stood at the crossroads of a million enslaved minds. And then, with a thought that resonated across the stars, she set them free. The Hive node exploded in a burst of psychic energy. Across the battlefield, enemy ships suddenly fell silent, their crews liberated from the Hivemind's control. A cheer went up from the Allied fleet as the realization of victory washed over them. In the aftermath, as the enormity of what they'd accomplished sank in, Lyra found herself standing at a viewport, gazing out at the stars. Julia joined her, a look of wonder on her face. "It's over," Julia said softly. "After all these years, it's finally over." Lyra nodded, her tendrils waving gently. "This battle is won, yes, but our work is just beginning. There are millions of beings out there who need help, who need to remember who they were before the Hive took them." Julia smiled, reminded once again of her mother's determination. "Then we'll help them together. Human, luminarian, and everything in between. That's the future Sarah fought for, a galaxy united, not in war, but in peace." As they stood there, watching the stars, Lyra felt a sense of profound gratitude. For Sarah Chen, for her mother, for every being who had fought and sacrificed to make this moment possible. Their legacy lived on, not just in stories, but in the very fabric of the free galaxy they had created. The war was over. The time for healing, for building, for exploring the vast potential of their united civilizations had begun. And Lyra, bridge between worlds and symbol of hope, was ready to lead the way into this bright new future. In the endless expanse of space, a new chapter in the story of two species, of all species, was about to unfold, and it was beautiful.